Alrighty, let's do a show. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com is where you're going to get your next vehicle. March break is over. Everybody's back to business, including the business of buying vehicles. Forget about all the tariff nonsense. Ford has low rates, big discounts, great residuals. This is the time to do it. I am your guy for Leafs podcast content. Why not make me your guy for your next vehicle? At Norm at Oak Ridge Ford. Thanks so much to Mark Stevens and our sponsorship group with the Oak Ridge Ford team, as well as the Raffiato Group. Based out of Windsor, it is Sunday, March 16th, 2025. The Leafs are on a bit of a run, Mr. Augello, running in reverse. Losers of 5 of 6, 2 major tests over the last 72 hours. And guess what? They failed them both. Lost to a shorthanded Florida team, the champions chomping at the bit to get going again. And then a collision with the Ottawa Senators, who had won 5 in a row, and they couldn't get it done. Not only did Ottawa beat them 4-2 at Scotiabank Arena, they swept the season series with the blue and white. Mr. Augello, good morning.
Good morning, Norm. Here's a statistic that should, make you a little ill. The last regulation victory that the Toronto Maple Leafs had was February 28th. So that's over 2 weeks.
Right.
They've won 1 game since then in overtime, 1 game in a shootout, and lost 5. This team doesn't know what they are. This team doesn't know where they're going. And I think it raises legitimate concerns regarding the makeup of the team and regarding their fortunes going forward. And I look at what's going on right now, and we'll go through each position, not every player obviously, but we'll go through each position and what's going on. And they seem to be flailing about. They seem to be searching for answers, and they come up with the same answer. I mean, they're losing right now because why? Well, okay, they scored 4 goals in Colorado. They were leading 4-2. They blew that lead. In Vegas, in San Jose, loss, or against San Jose.
Yeah.
Against Florida and Ottawa, they scored 2 goals with 4 players making over $40 million, more than almost 50% of your cap.
Right.
And they're the guys who are primarily responsible for generating the offense, and they're scoring at a 2-goal per game clip. You can complain about the goaltending, and I will. You can complain about the defense, and I will, or the penalty killing. But the long and the short of it is, for this team to win in the playoffs, they need to score, and these guys are not scoring.
The Leafs at their best this season were scoring just enough and keeping the puck out of their net just enough to get wins. The roles have been reversed. What is very concerning, and Jim Ralph brought this up on the post-game broadcast last night. I was out for a drive with my daughter down to Port Stanley. It was really, really dark on a nice day. It's a really beautiful place to go if you're in southwestern Ontario. Anyway, I digress. Listening to the post-game after the Leafs had lost 4-2 to the Senators, he had mentioned that the concerning thing here is they used to beat and play to the level of the top competition. I mean, earlier this season. Of late, Vegas, that's a great team. They lost to them. The Avalanche, rise to the occasion. They lost to them. The Panthers, the champions, the team you have to climb over to win the division, lost to them. The Ottawa Senators, who own the Maple Leafs. When's the last time the Leafs even beat these Senators? In 2023 or something like that? They lost to them. It's a downward trend, Mike. I don't know if it's a spiral yet, but Jim Ralph was right. This is unbelievably concerning. And at the worst time of the season. You might be able to get your bearings, but what is this team telling us about itself right now? You can't rise to the occasion. Should we just expect more when April rolls around?
Well, and I think they had the stat yesterday, and now it's 8-10, 8 wins, 10 losses against the teams in the Atlantic Division who are in a playoff spot right now. So that means Florida, Tampa, and Ottawa. Now they've had success against Ottawa. Had success against Tampa, but against Ottawa they've struggled, and they've struggled for the last few years. Remember, it's sort of Buffalo syndrome. It's like that's their Stanley Cup, but now they're fighting for playoffs.
It's not funny anymore, Mike.
No, it never has. It never has been funny. That's the point. I mean, honestly, if your team is better than the other team, then you should win every single time. Every once in a while, if you lose, it's understandable. People are human. But they lose to Ottawa consistently. They lose to Florida. Why? Because even without Matthew Tkachuk, even without Marchand, who's never played a game for him, even without Aaron Ekblad, that team sucks it up, gets good goaltending, plays good defense, scores on special teams, and then can shut down another team in the third period. I'd like to see the Leafs do that. They were up 4-2 in Colorado and blew that game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they were outplayed in that game. So maybe they didn't have any business being up 4-2. But, I mean, starting with the goaltending. I can't put the loss completely on Stolarz. He had no chance on the Jake Sanderson goal. The other two goals need to be stopped. And what I'm saying is, and I said on Twitter last night, Anthony Stolarz is not a number one goaltender. Right. Statement, that's it. Okay, I got a lot of response back from that. Like, well, yes, he is. Okay, no, he's not. And the last two games have proved it. They needed the save when, at a particular time, on a penalty kill, and they didn't get it. Sam Bennett scores the game winner. I thought it was Ridley Gregg, but apparently Claude Giroux got credit for the game winner yesterday. They need a big save. You want to know what a number one goaltender is? Look at what Linus Ullmark did in the third period against Matthews, against a couple other players. He made big saves. Right. And that's what you need, your number one goalie to make big saves at a particular time. And I think it's been established, even though his stats are good. Right. Anthony Stolarz is not a number one and can't make the big save when he needs it.
But that game winner last night was just sloppy. If Ottawa's going to score on the power play, make them score on a set play. Not while you're trying to clear the puck out. You turn it over and David Perrin just throws it at the net. So Stolarz was taken aback by that. It went off of Chris Taneff's. Perrin got Giroux got credit for that goal. But I see what you're saying here, Mike. It's just, where's the sense of purpose? Craig Berube, after the game, talking to reporters about what he saw last night in the Leafs' current plight. According to Berube, they need to make their mind up in the room. He's talking about his team, the importance of the start of the game. I didn't find that we wanted to play our game early enough.
Yeah, it was a comatose first period. It was 0-0, and I believe they had 5 shots on goal. And I'm getting messages from friends of mine who are watching the game, and they're saying, this is a game that means something. They have 5 shots on goal, and we didn't even recall them having a good scoring chance. In the second period, it picked up. But the thing is, once they started to open it up a little bit, then Ottawa responded. It's like, you get a gift from Linus Ullmark to put it right on Matthew. It goes to Matthews, and he shoots into an open net, and you're up 2-1. And how many times this year where they score a goal and almost immediately the other team responds? They cannot hold a lead worth a good goddamn. And honestly, it's like this team early in the year, if you got up a goal or two, they could shut it down. And I think in the second half, they have not shown any ability to do that.
This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. Michael Matthew, I accidentally put you in timeout. So if you're watching, it's my fault. I'm trying to get rid of somebody else right now. I've got fat fingers and things are moving quick. No offense, brother. I'm trying to find a way to get you back into the mix. Like the content, subscribe to the channel, check out Leafs Convo shorts. Push those out to everybody. Mike's going off right now, and I really do appreciate everything about Mike because he's quite the quote. Right. We're also on TikTok. So take a look. We want to let's shit on Mitch Marner for, not rising to the occasion in big games. And that's fine. Max Domi, he's been on a he's brought his game to a bit of a different level of late, but he's just not a consistent player. Austin Matthews scored a really weird one last night with Max Domi in the net. It's just to say that he got a goal, but there really wasn't much else from him. I mean, he's playing defensive hockey and he's out there in very important situations. But he's the captain. He's the leader. He's the face of the franchise. He's a generational player.
Sure.
We wonder about this team not rising to the occasion and being, seething. and chomping at the bit to just take down their rivals. Does that disposition and that mentality, does that not flow through 34? I mean, we go on about Marner, right? We went on about Nylander. What about Austin Matthews? What about the mentality? Where's his leadership? Even if he's not at 100% fitness.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it come through him? Shouldn't it start with him?
Well, I know that the criticism is out there about Matthews, and I just don't get it. I mean, honestly, I can't write everything off to the fact that he's clearly playing injured, but everything is off. I mean, it's like he handles the puck and the puck slips off the blade. He makes a pass and it's a little off. Everything is off. And with him, I mean, I'm not saying I'm giving him a pass, but because if he's playing out there, then you expect him to be the Austin Matthews of 69 goals. But clearly he's playing in a diminished capacity. Now, you could say he shouldn't have gone to the Four Nations, and I agree with that, but he decided to go. He's not, going into the corners like he used to. He never played with reckless abandon. He's always played smart hockey, but he's a step slower. He's not getting shot off cleanly. Things are off. Those excuses do not pertain to the other members of the core group. And the only guy who is playing up to his potential is John Tavares. Nylander's had a great year, but he's had stretches where he disappears. And right now we're in one of those stretches. Mitch Marner, as I said on Twitter after the game on Thursday, we know it's playoff time because Mitch Marner has disappeared. And where the frig was he yesterday? Right. I hardly noticed him. And, it's like, so, okay, finish off with the goaltending. They break the rotation, put Stolarz in the 2 games against Florida and Ottawa, and they lose both. Would you please give Joseph Woll the same consideration and play him the next couple games and see if he can take the net? Because I'm looking at the stats right now, and Anthony Stolarz is 4-3-1 with a .902 save percentage and a 2.85 goals against. Not exactly Ken Dryden numbers, okay? Right. Now, Woll's numbers are not as good save percentage-wise and goals against-wise, but he's 5-2.
Right.
Give Joseph Woll an opportunity, because right now, if you're going down this road, I'm sorry, you're going to finish in 3rd place or in the first wild card. Give Woll a chance. Okay. I think right now, and I saw Scott Wheeler, from The Athletic, who I know well, criticize Berube and criticize what Berube has done, what systems they're playing. There just seems to be chaos out there. And it didn't seem to be chaos in the first half of the season. Now they seem to be running around. Now they seem to be, and especially on special teams, I don't know what they're doing on the PK. Since January 26th, they're 30th in the league. And that penalty killing cost them these 2 games. If they play well on the PK, they don't give up 2 power play goals to Sam Bennett, and they don't give up the game winner on the power play on Saturday. So the penalty killing is a mess, and their power play, they're going with this stupid 5.
Who are your primary players on the penalty kill?
Well, they open the penalty kill with Matthews and Marner, hoping Matthews wins the faceoff. Then they shoot it down. Then they sub in when Matthews goes off the ice. They put in they put in Lawton, they put in Kemp when he's in the lineup, and then the second grouping is like Holmberg and Nyes. Defensively, I don't know why they were using Simon Benoit on the PK, probably because he's big. But, I mean, he was responsible for one of the Bennett goals on Thursday. He just left Bennett right in front of the net. You've got tough defensemen now. The whole purpose of having big, tough defensemen is to clear the front of the net. So it's like, so what they have and what they're doing are 2 completely different things. And as I was saying, for the power play, this 5-man power play, 5 forward power play is not working. You need a point man. You need a quarterback on the power play. Morgan Riley has done it.
Is this Mark Savard's idea?
It must be, but it's not working. And the only thing is, okay, I can see the philosophy here of you want to get your 5 best offensive players out there, and you don't think that Riley is one of your 5 best offensive players anymore, or Ekman Larson is. Ekman Larsson in the past has scored 20 goals, and when Ekblad was out last year and Montour was out, he quarterbacked the Florida power play. So he's capable, and so is Riley. Last night in that game, Ottawa had a clear-cut breakaway on the power play, shorthanded, and they were lucky Stolarz made the save, because that is going to happen at the worst possible time. They got to stop it, but are they going to do that? No.
Looking back on seasons gone by, Mike, we've seen the Leafs power play perform at a very high clip and then fall apart. Mm-hmm. The same thing has happened in 2024, 2025. Tough times call for leadership, not just from the coach, who seems like he's just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks right now. And that could be, giving guys the opportunity to rise to the occasion, mixing things up because he's throwing his hands up and not sure what to do. You'd think you'd have a plan, but we're all exasperated by what has taken place over the last few weeks, Mike. But central to it all, the players have to have leadership. The players need to find their way out of this. And going back to Austin Matthews, one of the great American goal scorers, one of the best goal scorers of our generation, if he can score 40 for the next 8 to 10 years, he'll have 650 goals. And I mean, he'll be amazing. But the guy, the person, does he not leave a lot to be desired? Listening to Bill Zito last night talk about his team, we've just got a bunch of plugs and shit disturbers and rugrats. We know that the team has leadership in the room. We don't have to say anything. We just go out there and do that. And these guys, in Florida, who has the same kind of talent as Austin Matthews? It's not just talent, Mike. There's more to that. Being a great player. And that's what I'm saying. Tough times call for leadership. Where's the leadership on the ice to find this, to help navigate this fucking team out of this fucking mess?
Against Florida, he was not the best player on the ice. It was Alexander Barkov. Probably the best 3 or 4 players on the ice were Florida Panthers. Again, I don't know how you can analyze Austin Matthews when clearly he's playing at 70 to 80%. I'm not going to like, everybody's got the knives out for Austin Matthews. Well, Austin Matthews has got to be, he is what he is right now. And I think you will find out at the end of the year, if he comes out and says, I'm fine, I'm 100%. I don't buy it. I would fully suspect that Austin Matthews, 3 days after the playoffs, is going to have some sort of surgery because there's something wrong. It's either back or hip or something.
No one is safe from criticism on this team, Mike.
I know that, but honestly, it's like, you can say, I'm not interested in excuses, and I get that. And if he's out there, he should be playing at his highest capability. But clearly, he is not playing at his highest capability. He's not 100%, and he's not, and everything is off. And right now he's on pace to score 35 goals. It's the worst season. It'll be the worst season of his career, and he's missed a month of the season for at least one injury, and then after the Four Nations, he had a second injury. Those aren't the cases with Nylander, with Tavares, and most importantly, as Jason in the chat here says, with Marner.
Matthews is the face of the group.
No, he's not.
How is he not?
It's the core 4.
Oh my goodness, Mike! If you were gonna cut 3 of them and keep one of them, who would you keep? Who's the captain? Again, we all love Austin Matthews. We all love Austin Matthews, but again, when the team is not doing well, who do you point the finger at? You point the finger at the head coach. You point the finger at the top players. Okay,
right?
We've fallen out of love with Marner. This is a relationship that is most likely going to end. We're tolerating each other. William Nylander, once a pincushion, now he's a poster boy. Asks Michael Matthew, who's back in the chat. John Tavares has the personality of a saltine cracker, but we're not asking him to say too much. Just go out there and do the work. Whether Austin Matthews is injured or not, and he's not playing to 100%, it's not like he can brag about playoff success and dragging this team through round after round as the weather gets better, the way as close as he possibly could, Mike. Again,
Norm, okay. Austin Matthews is a lead by example player. Okay, the guy that you have on Mount Olympus, Matt Sundin, was the same player. He couldn't motivate a chair. He couldn't.
But he had a lot of. He had a lot of. Like yes, he may not have had a lot of talent around him, but a lot of personality.
He had a lot of. Remember, I think it was 2000, July 1st of 2000. I remember it well. Or I think it was maybe a day or two after, they went out and they signed Gary Roberts and Shane Corson. And why? Because Matt Sundin was he was a lead by example player. He was not a rah-rah sis-boom-bah guy. And Gary Roberts and Shane Corson made up for that. Darcy Tucker was the spark plug of that team. Now, okay, this team right now, Austin Matthews is a phenomenal player.
Right.
He's not going to go in and do a Herb Brooks speech in the locker room. Neither is John Tavares. What the result is what you do on the ice. Now, the thing is, so is Mitch Marner. He's not a leader. He's a talent. And what has he done when it counted? Nothing.
Right.
And I don't think it's coincidental, Norm. I don't think it is at all that after the deadline, after all this stuff has come out about Marner, that his play has dropped off. And why?
It's not going to help his cause financially.
No.
If he can't pull it together.
I recommend it. As much as people may hate him, you shouldn't, because he's an excellent columnist and has a lot of sources. Read Steve Simmons' column in the Toronto Sun today. Because he goes point by point with Marner and the ranting and stuff, that he sat on it for 24 hours and thought about it and then said, no, I'm going to stay in Toronto. But his agent's not open to negotiating. So, do you think that's affecting the team? Do you think that's affecting the locker room? I don't know. Maybe I'm overemphasizing it. All I know is his play has dropped off since it came out, and he has done nothing in the two biggest games of the year. And, and that's a big concern.
OG's converts, what say you? What was it, a month ago? It was kumbaya around here.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick, KPG, let's go. The Leafs win the cup by buying 3 Fords from Norm. I love when people call them Fords. That means they don't really know much about the brand.
Ford apostrophe S, yes.
I'm buying a Ford from Norm. This week, Mike, it's not going to get any easier. Calgary's playing for its playoff lives. The Avalanche, I don't know, maybe a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde scenario. They come into Toronto and maybe that's the game the Leafs halt this losing streak. But you've got the Rangers also trying to stay in the playoff mix. Predators coming up in Nashville. I don't know what team the Leafs could guarantee to beat at this point right now, Mike. They're in a shitty spot. The clock is ticking. The playoffs are looming. How the hell does this team pull itself out of this tailspin and get calibrated and reset for what really counts, Mike? There's a lot riding on the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs for this team, regardless of players' futures, players' past, good, bad, ugly. Last few words to you, Mike, and we'll get out of here.
Well, you mentioned the schedule. They play Calgary and Colorado at home to end this so far disastrous 4-game home stand. And then they finish out the month of March with 5 of 6 on the road. But 3 of those 6 games, Nashville, San Jose, Anaheim, 3 non-playoff teams. Those are absolutely must-wins. Now here's something that should speak volumes. The Florida Panthers come into Toronto in a big game as a Stanley Cup champion, and they win a 1-goal game. And then the next game they play in Montreal clearly didn't mean as much because they lost to the Canadiens 3-1. And an opportunity was there for the Leafs to erase the loss to Florida, and they did what they did against Ottawa. Right now, there is no impetus with this team. There is no desperation. It's like, oh, we're making the playoffs. It's like, doesn't matter who we play. That is a recipe for friggin' disaster. And I'm telling you right now that right now, the way they're playing, I don't think they would beat anybody in the Eastern Conference in the first round of the playoffs. That's how bad they're playing right now.
Could you attribute the way the Leafs were structured last night, the lines, the way they set up their power play, the defensive combinations to that loss, because I can't. You've got enough talent, and that game meant so much.
I think Berube was searching for answers. I think he stirred up the forward lines. The combinations didn't work, and in the third period, he ended up going back to Nyes, Matthews, and Marner on the first line. Berube's his strategy may not work, but the problem is that it's with the team that he has. Look at the team that he had in St. Louis that won the Cup: Braden Shen, Barbashev, Tarasenko. They had Ryan O'Reilly. They had big players. They had two-way players. They had a level of physicality. They had guys like, oh God, who was that buzzsaw? And then on defense, they had Pietrangelo, they had Parayko. They were big, they were solid, and they had one of the hottest goaltenders. And everybody in Canada knows when Jordan Binnington is on, he can make a difference. Right. Okay, so this team, what do they have? They have lots of talent, but it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
And, that's that team, remember, when Berube took over, was last in the league, and they had the hottest 3 months, and it got into the playoffs, and then had the hottest playoffs, and then won the Stanley Cup. I don't know whether you can capture that. He had success in St. Louis with that team after that, but this team is not his team. Treliving is in the process of converting it more into a Craig Berube team, and which I think he imagines them being successful. But again, at its core, this is the same group: Tavares, Riley, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, the same group. And I'm telling you right now, if they don't have success in this playoffs, that group, a hand grenade is going to be thrown into the room.
When things were working, we believed that Berube's magic, his elixir, was permeating the dressing room, and guys were evolving. Now that it's not working, Berube's isolated and alienated. He's doing what he can, but the group that he has playing for him just can't come up with the style of play that he requires to at least advocate for success. And that's the thing right now, Mike.
Well, KPG in the chat said what Mike said, we all said in 2021. I was saying it in 2021 too. It was time to blow up the core, or at least shift it 5 years ago.
Right.
4 years ago, 5 years ago. You could have said after they lost to Columbus. Then you could say after they lost to Tampa. Then you could say after they, and then, okay, the one blip was they beat Tampa, which was an exhausted team, by exhausting a ton of draft picks to get a bunch of rental players. Right. The one, I honestly think, though, and I shared this with someone, and they agreed, that the philosophy at the trade deadline for trading for a player with term, Lawton, and another player with term, Carlo, was a signal that Brad Treliving was only going to give up assets for players with term because he's not convinced they're going to win this year. And right. if he trades first round picks to get these guys, then at least he has them for multiple years. That's right. Pretty sad. If that's the truth, and I don't know if it is, but if that's the truth and he's not convinced that this team can win, then I don't know whether he should have done the deals at all. But this team is flawed. They continue to be the same flawed team we've seen year after year after year.
Can't cry over spilt milk, or yes, you can. Of course you can. But there's nothing that can be done about things that have already occurred. We can lament them. And ideally, you don't want to repeat the same mistakes, but all hockey teams do. And I don't think things are going to change with the Maple Leafs. It's making the moves and having some things go right. Look, if the Leafs were on a good run and doing what they had done for a long period of this season, Lawton and Carlo wouldn't be as exposed as they have been. No, they were not acquired to be saviors. They were acquired to augment the group, embolden the group, strengthen the group. The group is weak right now. So, I mean, the spotlight is on two guys who don't really deserve the spotlight by any means. Hey, Lawton tossed them last night, and Carlo got his first point as a Leaf. So, if we're looking for something, those are a couple of things. Mike, in 1 week's time, based on the way the Leafs have played, the way that Ottawa's playing, is there a chance the Leafs are a wild card team?
Yes. They're only 4 points. They're only 4 points behind them. When we have our Sunday Spectacular next Sunday, they will have played 4 more games. I think they need to win 3 of those 4 to – I mean, the funny thing is that as badly as they've played, they're 4 points out of first place with a game in hand. They're tied with Tampa Bay. That's as badly as they played, they're still in a position that if they turn it around, they could finish in first place. Now, is that optimism?
That's because in general they've had a decent season, and that's why they're here. But they're giving it all away, Mike.
But is that optimism on my part? No, that's the reality. But right now, the way this team is playing, I see no evidence that they can turn it around. Now they could turn it around on a dime because teams are going 0-5 and then 6-0. It's like everything is chaotic. But right now, the way this team is playing, like I said, I don't think they'd beat New Jersey. I don't think they'd beat any one of the 7 other teams in the Eastern Conference in a playoff scenario.
This team will win with momentum, backed by talent. Emotion really won't have anything to do with it. The emotion will be developed when they get into the playoffs and actually achieve something of substance, achieve a milestone. And then we may see the things generated out of these players that we have not witnessed to this point. But you got to get to a place where every shift means so much, right? Every goal, every power play, and every penalty kill just means so much, and it's the difference between continuing on and not playing anymore. Sure, this team has been in the playoffs year in, year out, but they generally lose in the first round and it's all over. It's got to have more skin in the game, and you got to get past that first round. And I don't think we'll really know what these guys are truly about until they're in those circumstances. And the thing about it all is the way player movement is trending, and the relationships and stuff like that. If it all ends early, Marner's gone, and Treliving may make some more moves. Who knows, right? Who knows? OG's Convers, like the content, subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate everybody being here. I mean, like 200 people in the chat right now. That's great. Tell your friends about what we're doing. Leafs Convo shorts, as well as the Leafs Convo clips on TikTok. Mike's got lots to say. Why don't you share it with the world? Because we all love Mr. Augello so much. What are you working on, Mike, outside of the Leafs Convo?
Well, the debut of the new website, Hockey Hot Stove, will hopefully be before the playoffs. So that will give me an avenue to criticize the Leafs once they lose in the first round. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Did we miss anything?
Nope.
That's about it.
That's about it.
Well, I hope you have a great Sunday in Western New York. I plan to do the same in Southwestern Ontario. The weather is getting a little bit better, guys. You know what that means? The playoffs are coming. What kind of team are we going to have representing us when puck drops on the first round? That's the big question. The way we're all feeling right now, pretty down, pretty despondent, lots of despair. Maybe the chickens have come home to roost on this team, or maybe it's just us losing our minds over things that we shouldn't, because we know the ebbs and flows that the Maple Leafs traditionally travel through. We've seen it before. We're about to see it again. Buckle up, guys. It's going to be a ride. For Mr. Augello in Buffalo, New York, I'm Norm James in London, Ontario. The Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford is out.